Hey there, Gary Wilkins, Southeast Regional Sales Manager for Command Line. How are you doing today, Bryan?
I'm good, Gary. How are you?
Doing well. Bryan, I appreciate you taking time to sit down with me today to go over your products from Whelen and how they integrate well with our Command Line power products.
Yeah, excellent. So Whelen's been in business for over 65 years. You talk about being light industry experts for light towers. I like to think of Whelen as industry experts in designing and developing the emergency lights and scene lights that our first responders would use on their vehicles that essentially keep them safe and get them to the scenes to perform the job they need to. I'm a regional sales manager with the company. I cover the Northeast specifically. So north of the territory that you cover in the warm weather, right? I'm up in the snow country myself.
Tell me about your fire helmet there. Where is that from? I know it's got to be very sentimental to you for the fact you got to hang it on your wall.
So I've got 13 years in the fire service. I spent about 6 years as a frontline supervisor as a lieutenant. So that's just my red fire helmet when I was an officer. After a while, I stopped being an officer and I went on to our executive group. I was chairman of the board and president of the organization for quite a while, and I'm just taking a step back to spend time with family, and so now I'm just being a firefighter.
No matter how much experience you or I may have in something that's very unprecedented, that's the COVID-19 pandemic that we are facing right now. But how has that actually impacted you and your team during this?
Yeah, so we've been essential the entire pandemic since it started. So all of our remote employees or sales staff that would normally report to the office that can work from home and we've taken some pretty exceptional steps to ensure the health and safety of our production employees that really kind of keep everything running for us, both at our New Hampshire plant and our Connecticut plant. You talk about being able to support and serve those first responders, the real heroes here. And beyond us making product, the warning lights and scene lights that we think go into supporting those men and women every day, is we've taken our ability to design, develop, and then manufacture product, and we've done some good with it with face masks and face shields. So our team really kind of dived into it. And we've built about 10,000, well over 10,000 face masks and shields to donate to healthcare and our frontline emergency responders.
This here is actually our landing page on commandlight.com for Whelen and LED lights. It's going to walk us through and give us a little bit of history there about your company. But what it's going to more importantly do is we're going to be able to break down these lights into AC and DC solutions by brand, then by power requirement, by total watts, and then your output of lumens. So I bring this up to show you this is we've got a plethora of your options, both AC, DC options. We can see these outputs are gradually increasing. Your solutions are available on everything from our C light all the way up to our biggest, baddest light tower being our Octolight, our 8-head light towers. So it really begs the question that I want to ask you as an expert is how many lumens do we need?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I often like to tell people when they ask that question, it's really a loaded question, right? It's kind of like asking when you go to build a fire truck, how many gallons per minute do you need on the pump, right? Most people will say, well, I just need 1,500, but where do we set the metric on there, right? So lumens is a good starting point, but I don't think it should be the only question that you ask, right? So really what we need to find out is, sure, lumens, well, let's talk about that, but let's first talk about what's the application we're going to go on to. So if somebody's building a first response squad truck that's going to make house calls, maybe the Octolight's not a good application for that, right? It's just going to be way too much light for the situation that they may be in. But the small shadow may be perfect for them, right? So we can talk then about, all right, what's our product offering? What light heads are available for that? And really what configuration makes sense on there. Really the question we need to be asking is lux, right? And you and I could do a whole nother video series on what lux means. In fact, we could probably do 3 or 4 and still have to involve, 10 or 12 of our engineers to come in and really explain it so that you and I can understand it. So there's all these terms out in the industry that really don't have a lot of practical application. I would say that the more important thing we need to talk about is the optics that play into it, right? But I'll go back to the octalight on there. It has some 320,000 lumens on it, and so the lumens are important to talk about. But when we talk about lux, we're talking about the light that actually makes it to the ground, right? From how you have it positioned. So that 320,000 lumen light tower is going to do great if it's actually pointed to the scene. But if you were to have it aimed, to a point, 150 feet up in the air, it's not really going to provide you any usable light down on the ground. So that's kind of what we talk about when, lumens is a great starting point on there, but I'm not sure that it's going to be the end all be all on there. We really need to focus on a number of different questions to, I guess, really get us to what's going to fit the application of the agency, right?
How does that actually work to get that light, which the lumens, the raw lumens, or however you want to refer to it, that light out of the optics? How do you guys do that so effectively?
So we do it really with our silicone optics on there. So we're using our Proclara optic, which is the Whelen brand optics, and it's an optically clear silicone that we cold mold. And the reason we do that is to reduce shrinkage on there, so that we don't have any distortion in there. Some other manufacturers may use polycarbonate lenses on there, or polycarbonate optics. On our case, on our larger Pioneer series, our optics are going to be silicone. They sit right directly on top of the LED diodes at that point. So we're capturing all of the light that we can that comes out of that LED, and then really kind of directing it the way we want to go on there. So I would use the example of our TIR optics are kind of like a smoothbore nozzle, right? We're taking hundreds and hundreds of gallons a minute, and we're really aiming it the way we want to on there. So the gallons per minute is going to be our lumens on there. And sure, if you just had a 4-inch hose with no nozzle on it, you could have all the gallons in the world, but it's not going to do anything for you. You put a nozzle on the end of it, and your optic, and it really changes the application setting for it. So that's why we utilize the silicone on there. Now, there's another important thing that I want to talk about that we kind of do that differentiates ourselves from the industry, and that is that we hard coat our lenses. And I have a hard coating lens here example. It's going to be difficult to see, so we'll throw a picture up. But essentially, we bake a coating on top of our lenses that sit on top, basically in front of our optics. And the reason we do that is to prevent yellowing or discoloration that may be there, scratching that may take place on it. It's not necessarily an issue for, I guess, your scene lights, right? Because you're not going to be driving down a road where there may be brush that can scratch the lens on there. It'll be in the stowed position. But nonetheless, the reason why we hard coat them on there is really to protect your investment.
Mention your yellowing, so that's just want to make sure that I'm keeping up with you, so that everyone's watching is keeping up. The yellowing you're referring to on lens is going to be very similar to what we see on older cars, right? And the light gets dim because it can effectively go through that haze that's on there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So that first car that you and I had back in college, a long time back, and you'd have to get out every 6 months or so and sand the headlight down because they'd yellow so bad that you couldn't see the road at night. That's essentially what we're trying to prevent, right? The lenses would eventually degrade due to UV light or dirt or whatever it may be on there. So we hard coat our lenses, not only our Pioneer series, but also all of our warning lights. So those agencies that are already using all of our warning lighting, they would see the same benefit on their light tower, essentially. And again, we want to protect that investment, right? So we can have the greatest optics and the most powerful lumen output possible. But if you let those lenses eventually begin to yellow on there, you're going to be degrading the ability to get that light onto the scene. So by hard coating it on there, we're essentially preventing that and ensuring that light tower is going to perform flawlessly from the moment you put the truck in service to hopefully the end of the life of it.
That's very similar to waxing the side of a truck, correct? That's kind of like a protective coating on there.
Yeah. Yeah, much like waxing a fire truck or even putting like Rain-X on your windshield, right? It's the same thing. So I guess Rain-X on the windshield may be a better point on there, that those lenses are going to have little pock marks in there, little imperfections on there. So our hard coating really is designed to fill all those in and just be a smooth surface to eliminate any UV degradation that may take place, as well as just dirt and scratches. Probably more important for any side-mounted scene lighting that may be on the body versus lights that will be protected in their stowed position from your light towers. But we hard coat everything on our lighting platform.
The next place that I would really like to ask you about is, I made mention earlier of our Octalight, which is our 8-headed lights that have 327,072 lumens of light available on that Octalight using your PFP4 fixtures, and that's only available in AC. But what we find is that, I've got a plethora of options over here that I'm showing you in DC.
Mm-hmm.
And your light heads are available in DC on everything from our Seas Light series, our Shadow series, which is, what I've got right here behind me on my demo truck, our Shadow series, and then you've got the Night series that we've got available as well. And then even in the 4-head CL series, we can utilize DC offering. And so frequently, I'm seeing fire departments come back to me saying, "Hey, Gary, we're removing the generator off the truck because we can save this much money." And that varies depending on the size and the type of generator, but it is a significant savings typically you see overall. But you can afford more light in a DC platform, or even other solutions that make your scene safer, such as that traffic advisor you see on the back of my truck there as well. So you can put a full-size traffic arrow up to actually divert traffic, and you can find that you can actually afford more truck and more features by removing that generator off. It makes me ask you the question, as the lighting expert, what do you find with doing AC versus DC lights? What is the difference there? Are we making a mistake by going that route?
So, I mean, the reality is this, Gary, that for us, there is no difference between the DC or the AC series on there, with the exception of some technical operational bits that don't really matter, right? Mm-hmm. So if you took our DC lights, don't plug them into a wall outlet. As an electronics professor many years ago once told me, once the smoke comes out, you can't put it back in again. Beyond that, the optics and the output of those lights does not change. We offer them in 12 volt or 24 volt DC, just depending upon the configurability on there. And then we offer them in 120 volt AC. I know on your website, you guys list them as 240 as well. Mm-hmm. We don't make them in 240. We only offer them in 110, but that's just a matter of configuration when you guys build it on your end, so that you can still have a generator that's going to be, a 220, a 240 output. Our products will still work with it. It's just a matter of how you connect it on the back end. But you're not making a mistake. I think I hate to sound like a broken record, but it comes down to the application series, right? How do you want to build it? In a case where your Shadow light tower, for example, if you're going to put that on a light rescue pickup truck, or a vehicle that you normally would not put a generator on, it makes sense to go DC at that point. There's no need to add the extra cost of a generator or an inverter, for that matter. It does increase the amperage draw on it, and there's some physics behind that, right? So if you took the same light in 120, it's going to draw less amperage than you would if it was a DC light. It's just the nature of electronics. But again, it really comes down to what you're seeing on there, is that a lot of agencies are taking out the onset onboard generator and using that money so that they can now put in a light tower that maybe they would not have been able to afford before, or quite frankly, a better light tower, and still being able to get the same performance out of it without really the weight of the onboard generator and the cost, for that matter. So really, no, they're not making a mistake. I think it really comes down to the application series of what they want.
And it's really, it all comes down to your specific application. Is we don't really rate these good, better, best, or worse. It's really on your application. I love where you concluded at, whether you're looking at a demo truck like what I've got there behind me, and you're going to put a Shadow on there for a battalion chief vehicle, so that you've got a good illumination there. You're not trying to put much weight on there. You're looking at an under 100-pound light tower. You go to a mid-size series for your traditional style engine. You look at something like our Night series, which is up to 6 heads on there, and AC or DC, or then you move up into the CL series. and which is going to be 300 pounds. You're moving up in weight because you're getting a bigger light tower, more elevation on it. But it's not really good, better, best. It's all very specific to application. But one thing that I do want to build on there is the word that you said earlier, and that is lux. The general conception of lux is you, the fireman, you decide where you want to measure light. So you say, I want to measure light at 200 foot down the hill and 30 degrees off to the left. And you decide how much light do I want there, and that measurement is lux. So you can have all the lumens in the world, but if it don't go 200 foot down there, 30 degrees to the left and down the hill, then you have no lumens or lux on target there. So that really is where this light tower comes into play at, is a light tower gives you the ability to manipulate light, because if you've got a flush mounted or surface mounted scene light, it's flush. It don't move. It's where it's going to be. But that doesn't mean you can substitute not having both. You, much similar to the way you were talking earlier, it's a package. You need everything. So just walk everyone that's listening through, as a light manufacturer's perspective, on why you need both lights.
Your body illuminated lights serve have a purpose and a place on there, right? And that's going to be general task lighting around the vehicle, general scene lighting. If you're taking a vehicle to a structure fire, for example, and you're going to park right in front of it, then having body mounted lights, great application. If you're going to be at an accident scene on a highway, body mounted lights may not be as great as a light tower may be. Again, being able to focus on those lux, getting those lights aimed exactly where you want them. And you and I were discussing before we got on the recording side of it, that some of your towers offer the ability to be stood up or essentially be set up without the operator ever having to leave the cab. Right. So from a time perspective, I think we can all agree that the days of having to lug the tripod off the back of the rescue and find a plug that you can use, or unreel the extension cord and hope that somebody hadn't driven over the end of it the last time they had it out. Right. By putting a light tower together on there, by a simple push of a button or activating the system, it can be stood up and really put where they need it in a hurry. And really, essentially, I think it gets down to ensuring safety on the scene and being able to work efficiently.
I just want to give you an opportunity. Give me the brief history of Whelen and what some of the advantages of you guys would be.
So we've been around for over 65 years. Family-run company. We design, manufacture, and really develop everything here in the United States. We've got our main production facility in Charlestown, New Hampshire, and then our corporate office that also has our engineering staff and production as well in Chester, Connecticut.
That being an American made in the USA really does mean something. And just want to take a quick moment to let you know that if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to us on commandlight.com. If you come to our website and you come over here to the menu option, and we've got everything from your materials here that you might want for catalogs, quote writers, manuals, technical information, all the way over to sales support. So you can actually come down here to sales contacts, and you can get each of your regional sales managers' contact information there in the territories that they cover. So Bryan, what would you recommend to anyone that's watching that wants more information on Whelen to do?
Well, first, I would have them go to your website and find out how they can get a wonderful Whelen Pioneer on a light tower. Beyond that, our website's a great resource, whelen.com. There you'll be able to find online catalogs, detailed information, install guides, should you guys want it. And then if you needed to get in touch with somebody, we do have on there our contact and our where to buy page. Where to buy for us as well is going to put you in touch with all of our dealers that you can be local to you. It'll also put you in touch with our manufacturer representatives that'll be able to help spec anything for you, answer any questions. And then obviously you can reach out to customer service at Whelen, both email and phone, and you can talk to us.
Well, that's really great, Bryan. I really appreciate you taking time to sit down with me today and going through the product. I know both Bryan and I will both agree to this, as we hope you stay safe. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you, Bryan, for joining us today. I thank you, our viewers and our true first responders, our real heroes out there. We thank you for what you do, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a great day.